Welcome back to Cheddar, everyone. You're watching Closing Bell. A new president in the Oval Office, well, that means new hope for free college tuition. While on the campaign trail leading up to the election, President Biden has said that he will enact legislation ensuring students can attend community college for up to 2 years tuition free. But how much more likely are we to see similar policies for four-year colleges and universities? Joining us now is Morley Winograd, who is the president and CEO of the Campaign for Free College Tuition. Great to have you here with us today. I was actually just tweeting about this, unprompted from this preparation for the discussion, but I was thinking back to Bernie Sanders yesterday and him becoming a meme, and naturally, he's the person that comes to mind with some of these as well. It's a more progressive policy. We are going to see Biden have to work with progressives as well on the Democratic side of the equation. And so what about the Biden presidency excites you the most about the possibility of free tuition, and will this come to fruition?
Well, whether it comes to fruition or not will depend upon the vagaries of Senate politics, but I think it's much more likely to be on the agenda for conversation and debate now that the Democrats control both houses of Congress, albeit by slim margins, and most importantly, with President Biden having endorsed in a joint unity statement with Bernie Sanders earlier and now in his campaign and policy administration framework, the idea of, as you said, Brad, 2 years of community college being free, and then in the four-year world, 4 years of college tuition being tuition free for families earning up to $125,000. That was the compromise he reached with Senator Sanders, who, as you I'm sure know, is now chairman of the Appropriations Committee, and so will be overseeing a budget that might make that happen.
Certainly. And so what about on the topic of student loan debt forgiveness? Are you expecting anything on that front?
Well, there's been a lot of conversation back and forth about student loan debt forgiveness, with President Biden taking a decidedly more moderate position on the topic. And actually, that's probably a good thing, because according to the report that we just issued this week, done by a very well-known and respected economist in DC, the most effective way to stimulate the economy and increase GDP would be for the Congress to enact the entirety of President Biden's free college tuition plan. Their study shows that it would cause over 2 million more students, almost 2 million more students to enroll in college. They would graduate at higher rates, because that's been the experience of states that do offer free college tuition. Promise students, as they're called, graduate at higher rates, and would instantly free up $61 billion in disposable income for the families of America now living with the burden of tuition payments. Not to mention that the report and its econometric model shows that the effect on GDP would be an increase of about $139 billion over 2 years.
Naturally, as we're talking about this, I think about corporations, the businesses that have told employees as part of trying to attract talent that they will help them pay off college as well to a certain figure. So this also does have corporate implications within it as well, if there is movement on this front. And that's just from what I'm surmising here, but is that something that you could conceive being an actual bonus for corporations who have made these commitments to students, who now students will be able to go back to the federal government and lean on a program, a debt forgiveness program, or something that will subsidize their ability to go back to school for additional learning, just adding to the talent pool's skill set, but then additionally lessen the financial burden of that talent pool even when they get hired, thus also helping out the corporations that have made some of those commitments in the past and being able to put that capital elsewhere for the employees.
Well, you're absolutely correct, Brad, and it's a very insightful comment. There are free college tuition programs now in about 25 states, about half the states in the country. And in many cases, such as in Michigan, the reason that those programs were enacted is because Republican legislatures, not controlled by Democrats, enacted the programs because the business community said, hey, the number one restriction on our growth rates is finding talent. And to quote a phrase, America needs more talent, but they need more talented workers. The Biden administration has made clear that improving the global competitiveness of the nation's workforce will be an agenda that's not just at the Department of Education, but certainly at the Department of Commerce, because of its impact on corporate bottom lines and balance sheets. And that, I think, is something that rarely gets talked about. I'm so glad you asked the question.
What is the future for private universities? As we're discussing education, they aren't necessarily playing by the same rules here.
Well, no, absolutely not. This report also estimates that over 200,000 students will de-enroll from private institutions as the cost of public education drops to zero. And so it uses the marketplace to project its own impact. It lets the marketplace generate its own impact on this issue of private public college educations and for-profits. And that, I think, is obviously always the most effective way to regulate, if you will, this competition by making the public option so much more attractive.
Morley Winograd, who is the president and CEO of the Campaign for Free College Tuition. Great to have you here today on the show. Excellent insights, and would love to continue this discussion at a future date as well.